Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Craig. This is Toby.
And I'm Brittany. And today we're going to be showing you a follow-up video from our last balance video. And I'm going to be showing you with Craig as our patient how you can assess the different properties of balance and see where you need to work on and how you can make those changes at home or in the clinic if you have somewhere safe to do it.
But before you go ahead and watch this video, please go to our YouTube channel at Integrated Physical Therapy, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit that bell to make sure you receive all the latest videos that we will be releasing on a regular basis.
All right, so safety is always the first priority when we're doing anything, especially when we're talking about balance. So obviously I'm here to watch Craig while he's doing some stuff. If you're at home, you don't want to try this for the first time by yourself. You want to make sure that you have a clinician or someone there who can make sure that they're guarding you for safety. I have Craig without any shoes on right now, just so that we're getting the full feedback from the feet on the floor. So there's a benefit to doing things with the shoes on or with the shoes off. For now, we're going to keep it here. And Craig's got a chair position right next to him so that he can hold on to that if he needs while we're trying out different movements in different positions. And this way we can assess balance first with at least one hand on the chair. All right, so first, Craig, keep your feet about hip width apart, hands across your chest. Perfect, and then I'm just gonna have you try and balance there. And you'll pretty much be able to tell right away if that's gonna be an easy, moderate, or hard position. I don't see any movement throughout Craig's body. It looks like if I gave him a little nudge, he'd still be okay. He's not quavering?
No, quivering.
Quivering or wavering in the body at all, okay? So he's pretty static here. Now, in order to make that more challenging, if maybe this was something that you would consider moderate and you wanted to make it a little bit harder, you'd get the legs to be a little bit closer together, close enough that the feet start to touch, still keeping the hands across the chest. Okay, so right now we have all three of those systems feeding into balance. He can feel the hard surface on his feet, his head is upright, there's no movement there, and then he's able to see the ground and everything around him, okay? So we've got the three systems all feeding in here like we talked about in that last video. Now what I'm gonna have you do is put your hand on the chair for just a moment here, okay? And we're gonna cut out the vision. So I'm gonna have Craig close his eyes, and again, I'm here just in case, and we're gonna try, and once you feel stable, if you feel secure enough, then you can try and put the hands across your chest again. Okay, so now we took out the visual input, but we still have that proprioception and his head's still upright. There's no movement from the body, so vestibular is not really affected in this position either. And you'll see once we take out that visual input that he's still able to maintain that upright posture. Does that feel pretty easy for you?
Feels pretty good, but if it didn't feel good, what might you see?
So you're gonna see something called a postural sway or movement from the body. It can be front and back, it can be side to side. You'll almost feel like maybe you're falling over and you'll go to catch your balance hopefully before you actually do make that fall. And that's why we always wanna make sure that you have something close by to put your hand on just in case. Okay, so now I'm gonna have you go back into that position, hands across and eyes closed for me again. And now just nice and gentle and slow, I want you to try and do some head turns for me. So go ahead and look one way. Good, and then look the other. Okay, and then you can try a little up and down like you're nodding your head yes or no. Perfect, so gravity here is gonna work with those inner ear canals, and now we're challenging that vestibular system a little bit while we also have the vision closed out. So he's relying very heavily on the feeling underneath the bottom of his feet, that proprioception, body's awareness of where it is in space, as well as somatosensory, the actual feeling of the hard ground. Okay, go ahead, you can open up your eyes there. And then I'm gonna try something where we put him on an unstable surface. So here we have a blue foam pad. It's nice and thick, it's got some squishy component to it. So there's a big difference between being able to stand on the floor and standing on this. Something that we talked about in the last video is when you're transitioning at home from walking on the tile or wood floor and then transitioning over to carpet. This is kind of replicating that same transition. So here we're gonna start with the feet pretty wide. Okay, and then we're just gonna start over with the basics. So hands back across the chest. Perfect. And we're just gonna do eyes open first to see how that feels.
Feels pretty good. Definitely a little bit more challenging. I feel my ankles and my feet working a little harder.
And there's different areas of the body that are gonna react to balance. So if there's a little movement, it's called an ankle reaction. So those tiny little sways that you'll see maybe back, forth, front or back, that movement's usually coming from the ankle. If there was something like a big perturbation or the mat moved from underneath him, then he's gonna have a hip reaction where his whole body kind of has to knock in order to keep himself upright. Right. Okay, so let's see if we can put the feet a little bit closer together just to make that a little more challenging. Okay, and remember he always has that chair there if he needs it. Okay, and if that seems pretty easy, then I'm gonna have you try and close your eyes here again. And now you'll see there's a little bit more movement coming from his body. His ankles are having to react a little bit more in order to hold him upright.
Yep.
And that's because we're knocking out that visual input, and we also have him with the somatosensory challenge being on an unstable surface like the foam pad.
Definitely much more difficult to locate my balance.
And this is without any kind of acute injury. If there is an acute injury or there's post-op kind of status, then you're gonna have a lot harder time finding your body in space. And Craig, how do you feel about adding a little bit of head turns to it? Good, so now we can see that once we're challenging that vestibular system here, that there's starting to be a little bit more of that body sway.
Yep, I'm definitely working a lot harder on my legs, my feet, and my ankles. Feel my adductors working, on my inner thigh muscles, and my butt muscles working a lot harder right now.
And he's engaging everything in the body in order to maintain that stability and that balance. Okay, now you can go ahead and open your eyes.
Thank you.
I didn't notice they already open. And then slowly step off for me. And so while it's super important to train all of those three systems like we've talked about, it's also really important that you're able to balance on a single leg. Every time you take a step, go up or down the stairs, go up or down a curb, there's at least a period of time where you're standing on that single leg.
All athletes also remember, if you're running, as we all do in sports, you're always on one leg at a time. If you're running for distance, if you're training for a marathon or a half marathon, you're always on one leg. So it's imperative to train that way, one leg at a time.
And the standard for being able to standard for standing on one leg is about 30 seconds. Okay, so we're gonna start again with that stable hard surface, chairs right next to Craig, whichever leg you wanna start with. You can start with your hand on the chair if you need. Pretty confident in a single leg, so we went right for it. Good, and then once you feel stable and ready there, I want you to try and put your hands across your chest again.
And again, definitely working hard.
And you'll see those little movements up close when you're looking at the ankle and the foot. All those little intrinsic muscles of the foot are trying to work as well in order to maintain their contact with the ground.
And those intrinsic muscles are the small little muscles in the foot that hold it all together that are reactionary, trying to keep my balance standing on one foot.
Okay, and then we could do the same kind of things. You can go ahead and put your foot down. We can do the same kind of things here where I can challenge him, put him on the foam pad. I can have him do some head turns, anything like that. The same progression that we did standing on the hard surface, we'd go there. Eventually, we'd want to progress and do more of like a challenge course where there's a change in surface. So we'd go from the hard floor, stepping up onto the foam pad, going onto something like the Bosu ball that's also unstable. And we're always trying to add head turns, maybe even a dual task.
Right.
You'll notice sometimes a lot of people have their falls when they're doing something like texting on their phone. We're on the same mindset there. Or if you're walking with the dog, talking to a neighbor, something where your focus isn't 100% on balance in the moment.
Right.
One of the things that I like to do is have somebody do something with their hands, like stacking cones while they're balancing, something cognitive where maybe I make them count by 2s or 3s or something like that.
Right.
And all of those things kind of challenge the cognitive component that maybe gets in the way of balance.
And with athletes, sometimes what we'll do is we'll throw a ball at them. A football player might throw a football, baseball player. And what we'll do is we'll have them change direction, shifting from one foot to another, re-engaging that balance throughout movement. And obviously this is a progression once we've gone through the basics that we've just shown you today. But the idea is to slowly progress all the way up to full function.
Absolutely, and this is just the bare minimum basics of balance. If you guys want some harder balance challenges, we work with a lot of athletes, we do a lot of really fun stuff. So definitely drop a comment below and we'll get that out for you.
But I do want to come back to what Brittany said in the very, very beginning, which is safety. We have a chair here, and this is very important to hold on to. Oftentimes, I'll recommend the kitchen sink or a bathroom sink. The reason is you can grip your hands over the lip of the sink, and the sink is attached to a wall, so a chair might have some movement to it. A sink does not. Sometimes what I'll also have people do is if they have the sink in front of them, they place the chair behind them. So if they do need to sit or fall, there's a chair right there for safety, as well as the stability of the sink in front of them. So what Brittany said in the very beginning is very important. Always think of safety first.
And as long as you're doing things like standing on one leg or even a tandem stance with one foot in front of the other, as long as you have that hand hovering there, you're pretty safe. You can rely on it if you need to, but you don't necessarily need to death grip it, but you're still getting that balance practice in those different kind of positions. So there's benefit in taking it back a notch when you're at home versus in the clinic and doing something where you feel safe.
Please join us again as we put out more videos. Subscribe to our channel at Integrated Physical Therapy on YouTube. Don't forget to click the bell to subscribe for our latest videos that we'll be releasing on a regular basis.